My guest at this time stars in the upcoming film, The Manson Brothers Midnight Zombie Massacre. He is Randy Couture, and we may in a few moments also be joined by Boz Rutan. Randy, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me here today.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Thanks for having us on.
So this thing looks crazy, Randy. I really, I saw your name. I saw zombies. I saw pro wrestling. And they were like, do you want to talk to Randy? I was like, hell yes, I'm going to talk to Randy Couture about this craziness that's going on. So, Randy, for the fans out there that don't know, can you tell us about this film? What is this movie about, Randy?
Well, it's an interesting cross of the pro wrestling world. We have our two main characters played by Chris Margettis and Mike Carey, who actually developed this script. We're actual pro wrestlers at a pretty high level. Now they're kind of on the downhill slide. They're characters of the Manson brothers. They've kind of dropped to the B League. They're in Santa Fe, still trying to make a living at their craft, but definitely not in the big shows anymore. One of the other pro wrestlers on this circuit, who's played by Boz Rutan, is playing around with Chinese growth hormone. And this Chinese growth hormone is tainted, and it causes him to basically start devouring people. And everyone bitten turns, and you know the story from there. So the Manson brothers kind of have to go into action and save the day, rescue a bunch of people, and kill a bunch of zombies that have been infected by this Chinese growth hormone. So maybe a little parallel to some of the reality that's going on in our world right now. Maybe not.
Well, but that's
definitely fun.
Well, that's what the great, zombie movies have always been. Zombie movies have historically always kind of weirdly been like a reflection of society. Like you go back to the Night of the Living Dead and everything. I'm a huge zombie nerd, so I'm just kind of maybe talking on my ass a little bit here. But like that's pretty common for zombie movies. Weirdly, always kind of have some kind of parallel with what's going on in reality.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's what makes them uniquely special. And this one's a lot of fun. We had a blast filming it. Max Martini did a great job directing. I think it was only his second time directing a film.
Yeah, a lot of people would know him from like Pacific Rim. He's like an actor. He's like got over 100 film credits or whatever. This is only like his, like you said, like second movie. How was it working with him?
He was great. Yeah, he had a great vision. Knew exactly what he wanted, and I like that in a director, a guy that doesn't seem to be wishy-washy. He knows exactly what he's trying to get, and he's going to keep shooting until he gets what he wants. So I think those are pretty important characteristics for a good director, and Max seems to have that eye for sure.
Yeah, and Randy, obviously historic, MMA career, but a lot of fans know you from like the Expendables as well now, branching more out into Hollywood. How was like working on this movie as compared to some of the other big budget films that you've been a part of?
We had a blast. I think at the end of the day, it's about the chemistry of the guys you're on set with, and with DB Cooper and Freddie Joe Farnsworth as a stunt coordinator, Chris and Mike, Max, Boss, Mr. Wonderful. I mean, we had a bunch of amazing guys on this set. Definitely made some new friends. I mean, I hadn't met Chris or Mike before we shot this film, but we've stayed in pretty close contact since we shot this a couple of years ago in Santa Fe. So great place to shoot as well. Santa Fe was a lot of fun also, but obviously we had a blast. There was a strong connection, I think, with everybody. Small budget films are the only ones really taking risks nowadays, in my opinion. Most of the big studio projects are scared to put a bunch of money into a risk. So they're going to do a reboot. They're going to do something that they know in the past was tried and true. So why not revamp it and try it again? So I think in that regard, this film was fun, pushed some boundaries, did some really cool stuff. And at the end of the day, just a great group of guys to be around. I don't know what else to say. I mean, it was just a blast.
Sure. And so tell everybody a little bit about your role in the movie. You kind of gave us an overview. Who exactly are you in this? What are you doing here, Randy?
I play the old catch wrestler. The old Thump Hansen is his name. He's been there. He's done that. Been at the highest level. Still out mentoring some other pro wrestlers, mainly Chris and Mike, who play our two main characters, the Manson brothers. So he's kind of the cynical one in the group, and he's got a little bit of an attitude. He was a fun character for sure.
It sounds like a fun character to play. I'm sure you really embrace that one, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so wait, so you're playing a veteran pro wrestler here, right? Now, for all of your accolades, pro wrestler, really not one of them. Now, Boz has some background in pro wrestling. Who were you talking to him about? Like, who were you talking to trying to get into, I guess, the character of playing a pro wrestler here for the movie?
Well, I mean, realistically, pro wrestling and pro MMA aren't that far apart. Obviously, pro wrestling is choreographed, and so you know the outcomes going into the match, which is not the case in MMA, at least for the most part.
Hopefully,
I think they're a little more in tune with doing some work fights and stuff. I've seen some of that where I thought that, oh wow, this fight's a work, which is obviously a term from pro wrestling,
right?
And I know that's where Boss had a lot of his experience. Pro wrestling was in the Japanese market. It's a little bit different over there,
right.
Hugely popular, and crosses that line between MMA and pro wrestling, the make-believe entertainment type of fighting versus the real fighting.
Sure.
You look at some of those organizations like Shuto and some of those where they had rope, they fought in rings, they used rope escapes and some of the things we're used to from pro wrestling, but it was still real MMA. So certainly in the Japanese market, there's a little crossover, but yeah.
Absolutely. Pancrase, I believe Pancrase style.
Pancrase, absolutely.
Yeah.
Boss was the Pancrase champion, king of Pancrase. And I went to one of those shows, my very first title fight in Japan. And it was fun. I mean, the crowd was amazing and they got after it. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. So was there like a specific veteran grizzled wrestler that you had in mind when you were channeling your role for the movie, or was this somebody that you kind of came up with independent?
I was really just channeling my own grizzled spirit from 14 years in mixed martial arts, really.
Okay.
I didn't have to go very far.
Okay, got it. So what's your